Hello and welcome back to the Everyday Entrepreneur. In this episode, I had the amazing opportunity to interview Made with Love by Laurel, a local Eagle Mountain, Utah cookie business that is doing incredible things alongside a really busy schedule. This mom is a mom of two, a student teacher, as well as a business owner that is absolutely crushing it. She makes her cookies with love and puts so much creative energy into her business that you will be blown away by some of her cookie designs. I'm excited for you to join us on today's episode of the Everyday Entrepreneur Show.
Welcome to the Everyday Entrepreneur Show. My name is Cameron Ure, a real estate agent, investor, and entrepreneur. This podcast is for the everyday person all the way to the CEO wanting to build, grow, or scale their business to the next level. Our goal is to educate, network, and motivate so all of us can become everyday entrepreneurs.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Everyday Entrepreneur Show. I am super excited to have Laurel on this episode. She is the owner of Made with Love. She is a mom, a baker, a student teacher. She's doing everything underneath the sun. Such an impressive person that I'm excited to have on this show. Laurel, how are you doing?
I'm amazing. Thank you for having me.
Yes, no, so grateful you can be on. So we had a little chat before this where you were talking about your story, everything that you're doing, and you have your hands in a lot of things. Tell me what your day-to-day is like being a mom, a business owner, as well as even sometimes student teaching. What does that look like for you?
Well, first and foremost, I take care of my kids first. They get to school, and then I check my calendar. I still have a paper calendar that I write everything down in.
I love it.
And so the kids go to school first. I wait for the text message at around 7 or 8 to see if they need a substitute teacher, and then decide how my day is going to go. And so I check my calendar before to see all my orders that are coming in and going out and what needs to be baked ahead of time to get everything filled for the day that they're supposed to pick up. But while my kids are in school, I take care of my house and my dog, and I bake.
Wow. So you're planning your day as it comes and goes because it sounds fluid. And so I would love to dive into what it's like being a business owner with all of these other aspects of your life going on around you. How did you start? What was the growing pains like? What has it been like being a mom, business owner, as well as the other ventures you're doing?
Well, we moved here in 2021, and I had started baking right before we moved here, and then I wanted to find something that, number one, I love to do, and number two, I could move anywhere since my family does have to, unfortunately, uproot and sometimes move. We've lived all over the country. Our last house was pretty stable at 9 years, but we've lived in Colorado, North Carolina. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in Costa Rica. And I wanted to find something that I could do wherever I go. So I do, unfortunately, have to restart at times, but it always seems to work out. But so far, it's amazing. The people in Eagle Mountain and even the surrounding areas have been fantastic. I think that there's just so many people at home with a hustle that it's amazing. And I'm just really grateful to be part of that community.
That's awesome. So you landed here in Eagle Mountain because of your background of needing to move, being in the military, and just living that lifestyle. And hopefully now Eagle Mountain can be more of a stable place, hopefully for the time being. And
for now.
So with your baking business, you obviously have a background of doing it. How did you turn your skills of baking into a business that you've been able to rinse and repeat every time you move?
You know, I think a lot of my success comes from human connection and organization and reliability. And I am a 100% self-taught baker, but it's just something that I have a true passion for. And I love making things that other people think are a little bit difficult to make. The macarons, I've ruined thousands of macarons before I figured it out, and now I have down to a science. So I'm able to produce, the quantities that I need. And I do pre-bake. You can pre-bake the shells. It's not a big deal to refrigerate them until you're ready to use. But I pre-bake probably 4 days ahead of time to keep up with my schedule, because on the Mickey macarons that I do, I can do like 70 in a day, but my poor little oven only bakes 6 cookies at a time. So keeping up with, they're big cookies, but keeping up, I know my husband said we could remodel the kitchen for double ovens, but so far I have everything under control to keep up with the supply. And I also can schedule my own, date. So I know exactly how many I can bake in a day, what goes out the following day. So it's, as of right now, I think it's okay.
That's amazing. So you have it under control. You're growing. You're enjoying what you're doing. What brought you to turn baking? You obviously self-taught yourself. What brought you to start offering your services to others? How did you get to that point?
Well, kids are expensive, number one, and I wanted to find something that I could do to make a little extra money to support my family. I don't technically have to work, but I love to work, and I love to meet people, and I love to do things, and I really wanted to find something that I could do, that I could schedule around my children's activities and my children's school, my son's doctor's appointments, where I can block off periods of time where I am baking, where I'm not baking. And I think that has been an easy transition for me, because I really enjoy baking, and I love creating all of the printables and all the tags. I made my own logo. I have like a paper chopper that I cut all the tags with, and I just love like wrapping the cookies so that people can pick them up. And when you hand someone a cookie, I just think that it brings a sense of peace and joy, and I think that it's like a special gift to give someone, and I wanted to be part of that. Yeah,
that's amazing. So you're creating a cool experience for your customers. You're giving them a almost little gift of love from your kitchen, which is really, really cool. And so for the women that may be listening to this, or men that have a job or are busy, how have you managed being your own business owner? Obviously it's fantastic, you can set your own schedule, kind of determine how many orders you can take in, but how have you managed your time with being a full-time mom, taking care of 2 kids, as well as running a business and growing?
I think if I were to give anyone advice or anything, I think that the number one thing to do is to be organized. And I think that with that, you can have a full-time job. You can come home and have dinner on the table for your family every night. And everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day. And it's all in how you use each minute of every day. And that's how you can be a productive member of your community.
Wow. So you're, we were talking earlier that you have a paper schedule, and you're on top of that thing. I'm sure you are. I'm sure it's planned out, time blocked. How do you structure your day? So, what does your planning and organization structure look like?
Well, I use all room temperature ingredients, which in Utah could sometimes be hard because I keep my house pretty cold. So I know exactly how much butter, how much eggs, how many pounds of powdered sugar are going to be used each day. And I have a Bachelor of Science, so I think I do use a little bit of that technique in my baking right now to have everything ready to go for what has to be done throughout the day. I have, the second that school gets out, I am no longer a baker, a wrapper, a tie, I don't tie anything, I don't bake anything. I try to have my kitchen completely clean so that when my kids step in the door, I don't have to say get out of the kitchen, don't touch the cookies, please stop eating those cookies. So that part of like the organization and day to day to have everything done by 3:30 is, I think it's instrumental in keeping my family life and kids happy, because I don't have to, if you're organized and you have a plan, then I think that you are less apt to be stressed out over everything that's happening. Like, I created this for myself. I did this to myself. So if it has to be a happy thing, or it just doesn't make sense for me.
Totally. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're not going to do it long term, and you're going to hate doing it every single day. And so a lot of people that may be in your similar situation where they have a really busy schedule of kids but want to jump into entrepreneurship or start their own business or whatever it may be, a lot are held back just from the daunting task of starting. I've talked about this multiple times on this show, is where a lot of people are just discouraged because they don't know how to make a plan or don't know what the first steps are. And so for you as a business owner that has took that leap, what is your advice to someone that wants to jump into entrepreneurship but is being held back from their own limiting beliefs?
I think that people would be really surprised in themselves if they just took the first step. It's not always easy. I did it here. I put myself out there, which is sometimes crazy because you feel like if you put yourself out there, people can judge you. But I think that in general, people want to buy small. They want someone to send their kids to dance camp. They want to do the things, that make other families happy. And I think as a small business owner, I think if you make it convenient and if you make it nice and you have good stock photos and you put yourself on social media, that I think people in general want to be receptive. They want to buy from someone that they know. They want to see that person in the grocery store and, hey, oh my gosh, I had your cookie. It was amazing. And I think it all goes back to human connection. And I think in general, people want to do that. But it's hard sometimes if you don't know how to do Instagram or how to do Facebook, or I'm like on the lower end of technical abilities, but I think that if you try and you put yourself out there, word of mouth is going to be more, it's going to push you further than you think that you'll go. Because I had a person purchase a gift, one cookie, and I wrapped it cute and I sent it on its way. She called me that night and ordered 20 cookies to share with her friends because she wanted to spread the word to all of her friends how amazing they were. So I think just do it. Just do it.
Honestly, no, I love that advice. You really do have to just jump headfirst in, and this is why I love what you're doing, is because you are an example to those around you where you really do have 24 hours in a day, and you have to balance that between the different levels of life that we have: family, kids, relationships, health, all of those things. And it is really, really challenging to do on a daily basis to make sure you're not neglecting different areas of your life. And so when you are planning your day and taking orders and stuff like that, what keeps you motivated to continue to do what you're doing with all of the things you're juggling throughout your daily life?
I think that my number one motivation is my children. I have two kids. Maverick is my son. He's 10. He just turned 10, and he is visually impaired. His condition is genetic, and his diagnosis is a little grim. He'll be completely blind at some point in his life. So part of the reason that I started was to make a little extra money on the side, just so that we could do some extra things. Like I want to give my kids, normal or not, every opportunity possible to do all the things that we can possibly do in the time frame that we have. So I do save money. We, go to LA every single year for his doctor's appointments. And so saving some money to go do some fun things on the side after all of those is always super fun. But I think first and foremost, motivation for me is bringing people joy with what I bake, and making a little extra money. Nobody would ever complain about making a little bit of extra money on the side. And so I think, I think that that's, as of right now, it's really benefiting my family.
Amazing. So you're obviously having this incredible motivation from your children, which are the most important part of your life. And especially when you have a child that has a upcoming trial that may be continually more and more challenging, because you're being able to bless your future life because of the work and things you're doing right now. And so that's something I would like to hit on with us going into more of a potentially challenging economic situation because of the whole, I don't even need to go into that. We all know that it's potentially going to get a little bit rocky here in the next little bit. I think it's really important for people to learn from your story, learn from what you are doing, that if you just put yourself out there, work at organizing your time and doing as much as you can to put yourself ahead, it will bless your life, your children's lives, and your economic future more than I think a lot of people can even comprehend. And being able to pair that with something you enjoy is even more special. And so from all of your talents, all of the amazing life experiences you've had from traveling, living in different places, how did you land on baking? What made you choose that quote unquote side hustle to jump into?
I have baked my mom, grandmother. I have a really small family, and I have memories of baking with my grandparents, my grandmothers, and my mothers, or my mom and my aunt. And then when my kids were growing up, that was something that they did with them. And I just think that it's a special tradition. It's a special thing to share. And not everybody wants to do it. Like I do the cookie kits and I put them together and I send, baked cookies and made frosting, and I just hand it to people, and then they take it home and do it, and they say, oh my gosh, thank you. I didn't have to spend all day baking. I didn't have to spend all the time making the frosting. I just handed it to my kids, and it was an opportunity for them to do something besides play Nintendo or watch TV or do something else.
Yeah.
It's like something that builds a memory and opens up communication to sit down and do something as a family. And I think that for me is important. And so I do it with my own kids. We do gingerbread houses every year. I cut the shapes, we put them together. There is success and failure, and we remember it all as a good time no matter what. And I think that was part of why I, started doing what I do. Yeah.
You enjoyed those experiences that you were having with your family, and you realized, man, I want to share this with others around me. And the phenomenal part about all of this is the people that are purchasing your cookies are being able to benefit their children from your business and your previous experience of cooking with your mom and aunt and all those others that have got you to this point, which is probably really cool to think about when you look inward and you're like, man, I love this. I'm doing a great job. I'm passing on the legacy of what I've learned, which is really, really exciting. And so going into the more business side of what you offer as a cookie business, how did you come up with the options you offer, the packaging, pretty much the guts of your business? How did you build the business model?
So my logo has Braille on it. My son is learning Braille for his future needs. Whether he needs it sooner or later, it doesn't matter. It will always benefit him either way. It's just like learning a second language. You're never going to regret it.
Yeah.
And as far as packaging goes, I created the labels. I do a little bit of like digital design, and I use, the bakery boxes and the bags and the cupcake wrappers, and I keep it pretty simple because I don't think it has to be super fancy. And it always looks nice. And I think that, when people are thinking, for me, the Disneyland cookies are my biggest seller right now because, who doesn't love to go to Disneyland? They're basically impossible to get when you're there. So part of my selling point here is you don't even have to wait in line. You just tell me what you want, and you can pick them up directly from my door. And so that's kind of like a fun experience too, because people are buying the cookies, before they go to Disneyland to surprise their kids. Like, why are we getting these cookies right now? Well, guess what? We're leaving for Disneyland tomorrow.
Oh,
and I
so
think
cool.
that's like really, it's really special. And so I think that presenting someone with like a beautifully wrapped, individually personalized treat is part of kind of what makes me continue to grow, because people see it, love it, and want to tell their friends about it.
Awesome. That's super cool. So what makes you different than other, say, cookie shops or businesses, and what do you feel like is unique about what you're doing per se with your cookies?
I've actually thought so much about this very specific question. Like, what does set me apart? I think that there are so many people in our community with a side hustle, with a cookie business, and I think all of them are amazing. And I do think that there is enough business to go around for all of us to support each other. I buy cookies, I buy caramel apples from a lady in City Center. I just bought like a book cover thing from a lady that's in Eagle Mountain too, to take to book club for a gift. And I go to the classes with Cookies with a Cause. I just think for me to set myself apart is probably the human connection, the friendships that I build through selling cookies. People can hear, Made with Love by Laurel, and they're going to think, okay, reliable, organized, clean, beautiful. And I think that those are aspects that I don't think that sets me apart, though, because I think everyone else is doing a great job too. So that I've really put a lot of thought into this, and I am torn because I want to say I'm the best, but I don't know that I am.
Well, that's
I think that everybody's doing their thing.
That's a very humble way of putting it, which is respectable. I would say that is really, really important, because obviously there's a ton of competition out there in all industries. And for me, being a real estate agent, I fully respect the real estate agents in our community. There are fantastic people that I'm surrounded with, and that's why business is so exciting, is because we can all grow together. And if you feel like you're the best, then you haven't made it yet. There's so much more to grow and learn in business, and that's the exciting part about all of this for everyone. But I think really what you are saying is true. You do set yourself apart by the way you do treat people, the way you provide an experience for your customer, and those are all things that really do make a difference for the person on the other end of the quote-unquote transaction, where you're able to provide a phenomenal treat and cookie and experience for this client of yours, as well as build a relationship with them. And same for me, where I can separate myself by the relationships I build with others throughout the community, and how I give back to them through my services. And so I think you're right. I think what sets you apart, and I think people just need to meet you and have that conversation to really realize the difference that your business can make in somebody else's life, which is really, really cool. And so I have a couple more questions, and we'll wrap this episode up. It's already been fantastic chatting with you and learning about your business. What I want to ask is, for you as a very busy person with a cause behind you and a really cool experience that you're giving back to others. How do you come up with new ideas and grow as a business owner? What have you done to continually innovate so people continue to have a really awesome experience with you?
Well, I take things out of my daily life. I hosted Friendsgiving at my house, and I had 50 people at my house for Thanksgiving because we,
Wow.
we don't have family here, so it was all my amazing neighbors. And I had ordered a set of photo props for like a photo booth area of my setup. And one of the props said, leftovers are for quitters. And I think that just struck me as absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And so I ordered a little turkey leg cookie cutter, and I did vanilla bean frosting and caramel sauce gravy and a Starburst butter, and I put it into like a meal prep kit and put the 6 lit candies for peas and made it look like food, like
Wow.
Thanksgiving leftovers. And so I think things just like strike me. I mean, there's so many things on social media that you could recreate or redo or do better. And I take some of those things too, but I use a lot of like motivation from my kids and from my family.
Yeah.
And I think that there's like exponential growth from just being on social media to see what other people are doing and just seeing if you could maybe take it one step, one way or the other to make it different or better, and then bringing it to your community. I think it's an amazing opportunity.
I love that tip, because a lot of people sometimes think, I don't want to rip somebody's idea off, or I don't want to copy them, but there is nothing wrong with that at all. Using other people's inspiration is great, especially when you throw your own creative aspect to it. And I mean, what you're doing is extremely creative, especially with the Thanksgiving little meal kit. That is super cool. And so the fact that you're taking things from your kids' lives, your own lives, your experiences, and implementing that into your business, that is really what's setting you apart. It's how you're continually being creative and creating ideas for people to have a really fun experience with the events they're holding or the gifts they're giving to people. And it stems from you thinking and saying, this is something I could do. I'm going to create it because of my talents and my abilities. And so I always ask this on every episode of my show. What would the number one advice be that you want to give an aspiring entrepreneur or small business owner that has impacted you the most?
I think that my advice would be that everyone starts somewhere. Whether you think you have something amazing or not right this second, if you start, you will progress and grow into what you want to be. It all takes time. Like, I didn't just start selling 70 cookies a day. I didn't just start doing the mix boxes, at 15 boxes or 30 boxes a day. I started with 1 and I gave it to my neighbor. And I think that, if people just put their mind to it, it doesn't have to be perfect right now, but that's how people know that you're capable of what you're doing. Like, you do have to give it away a little bit in the beginning, because you want people to, you're not going to sell a $14 cookie, or a $75 cake the first time you make one. Totally. I think that it's growth, and you learn along the way. And I think that is, my number one recommendation to anyone is to just start, do something, you'll be surprised how receptive people can be.
That's awesome. I've just dive in. It's the most important thing. Just do it. And so many people are held back from that and are worried that the timing's not right. They don't have enough time in the day or aren't good enough to start. And that's one of the most hindering things you can think, is that you aren't good enough, when in reality, if you think about it, you're probably 7 times better than the average person, which means you can provide a really, really great service to others around you. And you don't have to be perfect. That's the whole premise of being a human being. Just be authentic, grow, and just give back to people in the best way possible. And so, Laurel, thank you so much for coming on this episode of the Everyday Entrepreneur Show. Thank you for sharing your insights, your story, your business. Where is the best place for people to reach you and find out more about your amazing cookies?
I have Instagram and Facebook, and both of them are Made with Love by Laurel.
Okay. Alrighty. I will tag those in this episode. Thank you all for joining this episode with us, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Everyday Entrepreneur Show.